Bonjour everyone and welcome back to Casser Les Lignes, the French football podcast with the accent. My name is Jeremy Magan, I'm your host as usual, and today we are going to look at game week 30 in France and what happened in our beautiful domestic league within the weekend. Of course, we are as usual brought to you by Breaking the Lines. Jump on breakingthelines.com to read the latest curated football opinions. My eyes stopped on an interesting data analytics of Jeremy Frimpong, the Bayer Leverkusen really killing it in Germany for the second half of the season under the leadership of Xabi Alonso. Great analysis of Jeremy Frimpong and how he ranks amongst the best wingers in the top 5 league this season. Anyway, back to French football. Of course, game week 30 just gone. PSG and Lens really leading the way, and everybody else dropping a point behind them, and a fierce fight for survival at the bottom of the league. Let's have a look at what is going on in France these days. So of course we had the 10 games this weekend. We're going to look at what the results were and why do we think now again that Paris Saint-Germain will win it. Let's take a minute before we jump into that, and as usual start by the music. Right, so 10 games over the weekend, and 4 of those games ended up in away wins. We'll start not by the first game of the weekend, but I guess by the game that everybody kind of had their eyes on, Nice, Paris Saint-Germain, and Paris Saint-Germain finally back to winning ways. Paris Saint-Germain finally getting a clean sheet. They won 2-0, the goal scorer Lionel Messi at the 26th minute and Sergio Ramos at the 76th minute. And, we almost reassured that Paris actually know how to find the back of the net again after 2 games without scoring. And like I said, finally a clean sheet. I think it's their 3rd clean sheet in Ligue 1 in 2023. They had a clean sheet against Angers, and then they win 3-0, of course, in Marseille about a month or so ago. And finally, Gianluigi Donnarumma showing his talent again. No less than 7 saves against Nice. Nice will have regrets after that game, 100%. And Donnarumma, those 7 saves, it's the best tally, I think, after August last year against Lille, where he had 8 saves. So a great result for Paris Saint-Germain. I'm not going to say a result that was deserved, because for you who have watched the game, you would have seen that Nice was on the front foot for the whole time, and Paris Saint-Germain just made the most of, I guess, the few opportunities that they had. I think it's three shots on target in the end for Paris Saint-Germain, and they end up scoring twice. Or sorry, 4 shots on target, and they end up scoring twice. One of them thanks to Lionel Messi, of course, and he's always in the right position in the final third, and then a header by Sergio Ramos on a corner kick. I have to say that goal from Lionel Messi, you have 6 or 7 Nice defender into the box and not one to pick him up, which is why I think Nice will have regrets, because they should have been here really to stop the Argentine and the World Cup winner. Nice really pushed and really tried to play the usual football. I mean, under Didier Gigard, they were on 14 games undefeated in Ligue 1. It's not going to be 15, unfortunately. And Donnarumma was just at the form where you expect Donnarumma to be, actually making the saves that matter, the saves that will help his team winning that 2023 League and trophy, who looked like it was still in question just over 4 days ago, 5 days ago now. I have to say, Nice played probably better than Paris Saint-Germain for throws of the game, and really show a better phase in Paris Saint-Germain, but Paris just needed the win, just needed to reassure themselves, just needed to try and secure that title that will, put them a bit more into the records of France. I keep talking about the title. Obviously, there's a huge game coming next weekend, PSG against Lens at the Parc des Princes. I think it's on Friday night, Saturday morning here in Australia. Sorry, Saturday night, Sunday morning here in Australia. And that's going to be a great game, because it's 2 teams that are in form. Lens, I think, have won 13 of the last 15 games. And PSG, PSG, they are getting back into the form that they're supposed to be. Maybe. I'd say maybe, because we're not convinced about the football that we are seeing. We're just convinced about when they're attacking, they are just scary. And so when you have a guy like Mbappe who needs 3 players around him to come in down, and a player like Messi who's almost unstoppable when he's in an okay form. I imagine if he's in actual form, they might get there. And I think they only play well against the better teams like they did in Marseille about a month ago. So, when they see Lens coming in and when they see that their future is on the line, they might actually show up against Lens. And of course, a win against the Saint-Yor would probably, sort of like make it their title for the season. Who knows? You never put a surprise past Lens at this stage. For Nice, it's a bit, I'm not going to say it's the end of the Giga effect, but it was 4 draws before this game. So now it's 4 draw and 1 loss. It's 5 games now where they've conceded every single time. So they're going to have to sort of, they're going to have to find that solidity again and maybe that grinta a little bit more. Offensively, they were there, and would they have scored 2 or 3 goals? Nobody would have said anything because they had the opportunity, and Donnarumma, like I said, had a great game for once. It'd be interesting to see if Nice can jump back from that, because they were knocking at the door of the European spots, and now they seem to be, not too far, but it's 5 points now between them and Rennes, 6-7 points between them and Lille, 5th. So it looks like it'll be a complicated fight to try and get that 5th spot. Of course, the French Cup final we know now will be between Toulouse and Nantes. So only the first 5 spots on the table will grant a spot for European League. I mean, Nice maybe has another way to get there if they win the European Conference League. Who knows? We never know. But anyway, on the weekend, Paris Saint-Germain, I guess, justify their rank and why they're the reigning champion and why they are at the top of the table right now by just scoring when it matters, playing a little bit less of the youth as well on the day, although unfortunately Renato Sanchez got injured. But we went from like seeing Galtier sending all the youth to then just getting Bichi Abou and Zaire Emery a bit late into the game. So maybe he understands that he needs to kind of count on his experienced player instead of the youth for the end of the season. 2-0 final result at the Allianz Riviera, and Paris on their way to that 11th title, if I'm not mistaken, to try and write history. One team that needed to get the win to resist that win from Paris Saint-Germain was Marseille, and they didn't do it, obviously, because that's what Marseille does at the end of the season. They bottle it. We just don't recognize Marseille. I've said it last week and in the previous weeks now. They went to Lorient. Of course, it was always going to be a complicated game. Of course, Lorient got ready for a Marseille team who had won their 8th away game, the 8th last away game. So it was a bit of an ogre coming there. But Lorient were ready, and Lorient really wanted to, get in there and try and get a result at home. They made it. It's not a loss for Marseille. So now it's 4 games without a loss. It's also not it's also a clean sheet. Finally, they've been conceding in the past few games, so they'll be happy to be able to get that under their wings. But offensively, it's still the same. It's still not creative. If there's not a good set piece, they're not scoring, as we said last week. And it's every single player looks just not at their level. Nuno Tavares and Jonathan Klaus, we've talked about them. Senji Zunder was in there and didn't bring much. Alexis Sanchez is the only one who's fighting again and bring a bit of technique, but it's not working. Defensively, if the job is sort of done, it's thanks to Pau Lopez, who again had 4, 5, 6 saves under his arms. He's really having a good season, the former Roma goalkeeper. But then Gigot, Balerdi, Kolasinac, there was a lot of foul that didn't need to be made, a lot of technical approximations, loose balls that we haven't seen in Marseille in the first part of the season. So I don't know if they're just all a little bit tired, like physically about trying to play the way Tudor play. I don't know why a guy like Mbemba didn't start again. He came in at the 82nd minute. I'm not sure if he's tired or injured or both, but he's just not playing the way he used to, and he was one of the best players in Marseille. We have to say it. So it's a missed opportunity for Marseille, who leave Paris Saint-Germain and Lens. We'll talk about them with a bit of leeway that they probably didn't need. For Lorient, it's an important result. I think Lorient is a team that belongs where they are. Of course, there was this superb start of the season where they were at the top of the table, and now they are in the middle of the table, and that's sort of where they should be. Maybe a couple of spots higher. Maybe they're 10th on the table right now. It's 45 points. But when Lorient receives Marseille, what they want is to not lose against Marseille, because there's a history of Marseille being successful against Lorient. So it's good that they were able to keep it that way. Romain Fèvre almost scored. Bamba Dieng almost scored. So they're also brought what they usually bring offensively. And without Enzo Lefebvre, it's never easy for Lorient, but they did okay for the weekend. Vito Manone was very good. I was looking at that game and I was wondering, when Mvogo comes back, he'll have a bit of work on his hand to steal the job back from Vito Manone. Of course, it's probably going to be a next season story for Mvogo. But yeah, I think Manone has done more than held his own in between the posts for Lorient while Mvogo was injured. Anyway, 0-0, the only goalless draw of the weekend, and it was Marseille at Lorient. The team that did take advantage of that Marseille draw was Lens, and Lens who win 2-1 at home against Strasbourg. Not easy at all for Lens to win that game. Not the most convincing Lens performance that I've seen in recent week. Yet, Facundo Medina and Przemysław Frankowski both scored. Adrien Thomasson, the former Strasbourg player, offered the assist to Frankowski for the first goal of the 11th minute, and Facundo Medina with a volley from outside the box, mind you, with his left foot, who scored the second goal at the 65th minute. Kevin Gamero with a beautiful goal outside of the box. I was watching the highlights later on, and he heard on the commentary that it was his first goal from outside the box in like 14 years in Ligue, which is interesting. I guess he's a real striker a real like poacher kind of striker. And the game finished at 2-1. A bit of drama at the end of the game with shouts for a penalty. And I think the referee had whistled the foul before the penalty and then went back and checked on it. And the foul was maintained and the penalty wasn't given to Strasbourg. Habib Diallo, I guess a little bit silly to complain, got a couple of yellow cards in consecutive seconds in front of the referee, and he's going to now miss the next game. And of course, Strasbourg is struggling to fight to stay in Ligue 1, so they would have loved to be able to get Habib Diallo for the next game as well. They won't, and it is what it is. But yeah, it's a shame because Strasbourg really played well, and Lens, it wasn't the Lens that we've seen with, I guess, the first 12 of this 13 win in 15 games series where they were dominating, and when they were not dominating, they were really dangerous in counter-attack. This one was a bit more, sort of like leveling to the team in front of you, and they're not playing great football, so you're not playing great football either. You have the opportunity, and you can see on the stats, it's 13 shots, 9 on target, and 55% possession. But I feel like it's really more they try to build and get where they were supposed to get, but they were not as dangerous as we've seen them. They won't care. They got the win. They are 6 points behind Paris Saint-Germain before they meet them at the Parc des Princes on Saturday night. They were 3 points behind them at the time that they win that game. So they had put the pressure on Paris and on Marseille. And at the end of the weekend, well, Paris resisted, but Marseille didn't. So now Lens is probably pretty happy where they sit, 63 points. It is with about 8 games left to play. It's a great result for Lens regardless now, and they're 5 points away from Monaco, and the way Monaco plays, you don't think they're going to come back. So it looks like Lens will be in Champions League next year, which is superb. A superb result for them. A few teams have played well, and then they've played Paris Saint-Germain. They lost against Paris, and then they lost their form. Marseille, Rennes. It'll be interesting to see. So Rennes beat Paris Saint-Germain, but play Paris and then lose their form. So it'll be interesting to see if Lens can resist that. Of course, under Franck Hez, they've been great. So it's just about sort of like keep on keeping on, I guess. We'll see where that goes. I'm really looking forward to that Saturday night game, Paris Saint-Germain against Lens. Don't miss it. I think it'll be one of the game of the season, at least for what's at stake for both teams. Anyway, on the weekend at Stade Bollaert, Lens won 2-1 against Strasbourg. A great win for Franck Hez and his men. A win that was maybe a bit less on the cards before the weekend. Lyon against Rennes. I gotta be honest, I thought Rennes was going to get that one. 3-1 win for Lyon. The goal scorer Amine Gouiri, the former Lyon player, scored for Rennes at the 11th minute, and of course didn't celebrate at the OL Groupama Stadium. But then in the second half, 3 shots on target, 3 goals, maximum efficiency for Lyon. Corentin Tolisso with a rocket of a goal at the hour mark from the outside the box corner kick comes back. I think he sort of plays well the dummy of pretending that he's going to cross the ball at the far post, and then instead goes to the top right corner the goal of the weekend for me. And then 8 minutes later, Alexandre Lacazette scored at the 68th minute, his 18th goal this season. And Bradley Barcola scored the third at the 79th minute. Three Lyon boys scoring and giving the win to Lyon against their former coach, Genesio, and their former sporting director, Florian Maurice. I'm sure they were happy at the OL Groupama not to get surprised by Rennes, as they usually do. The game itself, look, Lyon wasn't there into the first half; they disappeared, and in the second half they made Rennes disappear. So I guess it kind of worked well for them. Not the best game of Ligue 1 that I've seen this season. I think we're seeing that the talent individually might be on the Rennes side on a game like this, but when players like Lovro Major or Benjamin Bourigeaud aren't 100%, it shows, and it's too obvious because they can bring so much ball to feet, and when they don't bring anything, well, then you realize that there's something wrong. The three changes that he tried to make at the 70th minute, Genesio didn't work out. He got Doué, Doku, and Tay to come in at the 70th minute. It didn't work out so much that 15 minutes later, he got Doué out. So Doué got in and then got out, which is rare enough for any players. And in the post-game conference, Genesio said, you expect something about the players. And when you ask them once and they don't do it, it could be a mistake. When you ask them twice, you start to be frustrated. When you have to ask 3 times, then they can just come off the pitch. So quite the message sent to Désiré Doué, the young prospect of Rennes that everybody's seeing as, maybe the next Camavinga or the next Dembele, all those great players that came out of the Rennes Academy. But nonetheless, I think what Genesio really wanted to say, they had a chance there, winning 1-0 early on, to go up into the table and to get closer to Lille. And instead, they got surprised. And when they got 3 players in, those players weren't able to bring the difference and dominate the midfield, which is where I think Lyon was better with Tolisso, Cacqueret, and Le Penant. And so, obviously, Genesio couldn't be happy. And now it's a loss that could be costly eventually in their quest for Europe. Rennes, who's obviously been up and down. You beat Paris Saint-Germain and then you lose to Lens and to Lyon. So it's not a great way to sort of show that you're a consistent team. And for Lyon, who is the epitome of inconsistency, it's a great win because you needed that win if you're Lyon, because you need to try and go back on the table. And it's a win also that put them just 3 points behind Rennes. And somehow Lyon seems back into the race for maybe Europa Conference League next year, which is mind blowing because you really didn't expect that. But here they are, just 3 points behind Rennes and 5 points behind Lille. So they're playing their chance the way they should be playing it, and they are showing up into the race when it matters. So let's see if they can keep it going. 3-1 at OL Groupama with a good win for Laurent Blanc was the final score. Lille, I said it, is seeing Rennes coming behind them, and Lille, somehow inexplicably lost against Angers. Angers hadn't won a game since September 2022. This is that's mind blowing. And now here they are finally getting a win, and against who? Well, against Lille. They have only 14 points. Angers on the table. Somewhat. They might think that if they keep like this, they might have a sort of weird slice chance glimmer of hope of coming out of the bottom of the table. I doubt it's going to happen. But if you build on those kind of performance, who knows? 1-0, the goal scorer was Ali Tsabanovic at the 84th minute. I think it was 10 minutes or 15 minutes after he got in, the young player. And the player of the game, it has to be said, was Paul Bernardoni, the Angers goalkeeper. He really resisted all the assaults that Lille had from him. 15 shots, 5 on target for Lille, and really a lot of opportunities where they just showed up into the box trying to put pressure on Angers, and Angers resisted well, mainly thanks to Paul Bernardoni. But also, Valéry and Untunji actually did okay to hold it defensively when you had Cabela and Gomez, who probably were the 2 best players in that team offensively, combining well, and Jonathan David, an opportunity and a half. You expect him to score those ones. But Bernardoni, like I said, was in real good form. On the other side, Lucas Chevalier did okay until the goal where he's just parrying in a way, doesn't have time to go in the second time, and Ali Tsabanovic is the closest. we've said it about Lille before, right? It's just a story of missed opportunity for them this season. It was a win that would have given them a world of good because they would have put Rennes 5 points behind with the win, and instead they lose, and now they have Monaco 6 points away from them, and they're only 2 points in front of Rennes, 5 points ahead of Lyon, and they're making life hard for themselves before the final run of that season. But it's what Lille has done under Paulo Fonseca. They play good football, but they don't convert that into 3 points week in, week out, and that's why they're not in the Champions League run right now. At Angers finally winning since first win since September 22nd, despite odds way against them. 1-0 for Angers against Lille. Stade de Reims didn't win either. The team coached by Will still had to wait for stoppage time to only save a point at home against Brest. Brest was playing okay under Eric Roy. They had scored the first goal with Pierre Lesmelou at the 6th minute, and like I said, had to wait until the very, very, very end of the game, and a VAR penalty awarded to Zenelli to see Folarin Balogun, of course, scoring his 18th goal of the season. He's now the highest scoring British player in France since Glenn Hoddle back in the days. So good on him, the Arsenal loanee. He scored the penalty. I think that was the only way they could beat Marco Bizzo really on the weekend to get their penalty. A high-flying game, 61% possession for Reims, 22 shots, 7 on target for Reims, 12 shots, 5 on target for Brest. Two teams that, of course, want to play football and will always exchange blow to blow. And you know, Brest, they are now sort of like saved from any relegation woes. Sorry, they're not. They have 28 points. Excuse me. What did I confuse Rennes, Brest and Clermont for a bit? They're not saved from any relegation woes, but they were right in the midst of it 5-6 games ago. And now those good results that they have in the past 5 games, only one loss, is slowly getting them out. They are a team that plays football, though. And when a team plays football, well, they deserve to stay in Ligue 1, to survive. And so if they keep playing the way they do, I'm sure that they'll be there or thereabout until the very end, and hopefully they'll stay in Ligue 1 for next year. I mean, we're going to lose regardless a team that we shouldn't be losing, be it Strasbourg or Brest or teams that actually try to play nice football. But there they were rewarded. You know, it's never easy to play against Reims in Reims. We know the firepower that there is up front between Uto, Balogun, Munetsi, and Flips, and they resisted well. They almost conceded at the very end, though, after that goal from Balogun. There was a bit of a weird throw-in. I think it was Lala who threw it into to Chardonnay or to Brassier, and then Junya Ito almost scored by deflecting a clearance, and luckily Marco Bizot was there. Reims, you know, they lost against Marseille a couple of weeks ago. They had bounced back, and now it's a draw. They had half a chance to maybe get there, and they're still, you know, level with Lyon and only 5 points behind Lille. But they need to get back to winning ways if they want to bring back Reims to the European scene. How about that? That'll be interesting. Nantes, Monaco, 2-2, the final score. Nantes, of course, who has been seen celebrating their win against Lyon in the French Cup semi-final. A beautiful goal by Ludovic Blas, and an even more beautiful celebration with a very peaceful pitch invasion by all the fans at La Beaujoire at the end of that semi-final. Well, Nantes, who didn't show up at first against Monaco at home to celebrate that qualification. Monaco scored the first 2 goals, 21st minutes, Axel Disasi, for a central defender, being able to chase down and volley a corner kick into the opponent's box is rare, and Disasi did that very well. And then Elliot Matazo, the defensive midfielder, scoring the second goal, 2 assists from Caio Henrique, if we need to say it. Caio Henrique is still one of the best left-back in Ligue 1 and maybe in Europe. And then Nantes, like I said, took their time to wake up, and then finally Mostafa Mohamed, minutes after coming into the game, scored a header with a corner kick from Ludovic Blas, and Blas scored a header of himself with an assist from Quentin Merlin 30 minutes later, and it was 2-2 at the end. It's got to be said, Monaco will not get where they want to be with Alexander Nubel as a goalkeeper. I'm sure it's going to be their priority in the offseason, finding a new goalkeeper. I am wondering what Alex Nubel will do, because of course it was sold to Monaco, or loaned to Monaco, I should say, as the future Manuel Neuer, and he's just not been that I know that a keeper changes club and he can find their form again. And now we're talking again about one of the most interesting prospects, but at Monaco, he's just not been that. And so it'd be interesting to see where he can bounce back after what was, I think it's got to be said, maybe a failed couple of seasons. He's done some good stuff. He's done a lot of so-so performances, and I think it's going to cost him in the end. Monaco, with that draw, again, they miss an opportunity to try and get close to Marseille. They are 3 points behind Marseille now. Both teams have drawn, of course, over the weekend. They are, though, pretty safe in that fourth place, 6 points away from Lille. 8 games left to go. I know things can go fast, but if Monaco don't make too many mistakes, they should be fighting for Europa League or Champions League. A bit lower on the table, the last 3 games. Montpellier against Toulouse finished a 2-1 win for Toulouse. Thijs Dallinga on an assist by Danny Genreau, the French-Australian player. Is an Australian international of French descent. And that was the first game he started for Toulouse this season in Ligue 1, and he got an assist after half an hour. So good for him. Good goal by Thijs Dallinga in the meantime. And then Faris Shaibi scored the second goal at the 85th minute. Elias Wahi, of course, answered for Montpellier at the 88th minute. Two teams that are where they're supposed to be in the middle of the table. Toulouse, I think, a couple more talents, and next year maybe we see them pushing a bit forward. Montpellier, it's good that they are what they are under their Zakarian. They really sort of like found their groove back, and now they put themselves away from any worries. Of course, that loss isn't great, but 37 points, they are 9 points away. They are 11 points away, from the relegation zone. So they've done the job now. It's just about keeping it that way. Toulouse, with that window, they overtake Montpellier on the table. So I'm sure, Toulouse, if they had a doubt that maybe there was still a risk of, they've put that doubt behind them, and they're now sure to be in Ligue 1 next season. And then at the bottom of the table, 2 games were very important. Ajaccio against Auxerre. The first one, Auxerre, who won 3-0 in Corsica, and what an important win for the Auxerre fans and all the Auxerre. There's a lot of people who love the Auxerre team since the 90s and since Giroud, etc. So it's good to see that under Christophe Pellissier, they're getting good results. 3-0, I can't remember when is the last time they scored 3 goals away. I think it was like in early 2000 for Auxerre. Birama Touré at the 3rd minute, Nuno da Costa at the 6th minute, and then an own goal from Michael Alphonse at the 47th minute. 3 goals in the first time. Sealed it for Auxerre. Ajaccio is probably halfway in Ligue 2. They were a great defense in Ligue 2. They didn't translate in Ligue 1, is the long story short. But it's good to see that Auxerre, after their woes of the first part of the season, are having a much better second part of the season. That win, of course, put them out of the relegation zone. They're 3 points away from Strasbourg now. For Ajaccio, 21 points. They are 7 points away from Brest, 16th. Yeah, it's going to take something special for the Corsican team to get out of there. Another team that is half condemned is Troyes with their Australian coach. We've said it in the past few weeks. Patrick Kisnorbo, another loss for Troyes at home, 2-0 against Clermont, and a costly loss. Not even an undeserved loss. Clermont was just the better team and really carved open that defense. Interesting comments by Adil Rami after the game, the captain of Troyes, and of course the World Cup winner in 2018 with France, when he was playing with Marseille back at the time. Adil Rami, who said that they're struggling, and of course they're not playing well enough, and it's all about the player need to be better. But also he said that he had felt that the team was better playing in 4-4-2, but Kisnorbo wants to play 3-5-2-1, 3-4-2-1, or 3-5-3, 3-5-2. Let's start again, because now I look like I don't know my tactics. Kisnorbo is apparently keen to play on 3-4-2-1 or 3-5-2. And Rami said, we have to accept what the coach wants. I tried to tell him that 4-4-2 was better, but also he knows what he's doing, and we support him. And I just did what I could to try and tell him something. but blah, blah, blah. So long story short, he kind of said that he disagreed with the tactics that his coach was playing, but that he would do it as well. And he also said, I'm 38 years old soon. My career is behind him. But I'm telling those young players that they have to fight now because they have the career in front of them. And if they're seen giving up when they're about to go back to Ligue 2, nobody's going to pick them up. So a bit of a few shots fired by Adil Rami, I guess is what I'll say, during that post-game press conference. But of course, he's also in the middle of the park and he's the captain, and maybe he should lead them to better results. But that's of course another story. Good win for Clermont, not surprising. Last year, Clermont stayed in Ligue 1 because they were playing football the right way, and this year they've just done the same thing. Mohamed Chan scoring. It's been a while since he had scored, but he is one of those recruits in Ligue 1 that no one saw coming. And then actually played okay. Johan Gastien scoring, I think, his third goal in his career. He's 35 or something like that. And close to scoring a second goal, a beautiful shot from distance that just was inches wide of the post. The win for Clermont, just the woes for Troyes with 8 games left, 7 points behind. The first team that's not going to get relegated is not going to be easy for Troyes. All right, let's look at the table now that we've looked at the 10 games. Paris Saint-Germain, of course, is at the top, 69 points, 6 points away from Lens, 63. Marseille follows 2 points behind, 61 points. And Monaco, 58, are going to be most likely, the 4 teams who are going to fight for Europa League or Champions League. Behind, it's Lille, 52, Rennes, 50, and Lyon and Reims, 47. At the bottom of the table, Angers with 14 points closes the domestic league, and Ajaccio and Troyes 7 points away, 21 points. Strasbourg 26 is still, as it stands, in a relegation position. Brest 28, Auxerre 29, Nantes 31 are the 3 other teams that could be concerned by a potential fight to stay in Ligue 1 next year. Of course, we're going to look a little bit at the goal scorer. Who's doing well in Ligue 1 this season. I think we kind of know. It's 19 goals for Mbappe. 19 goals for Mbappe, 19 goals from Jonathan David, Lacazette and Balogun, 18 points each. Ben Yedder 17. The fight for Golden Boot might be interesting until the end because, Lacazette, David, Balogun, Mbappe, all of them are in teams that need wins. Mind you, Ben Yedder as well. They need wins to get to where they want to get into the end of the season. So I'm sure we'll go over 20 for sure. Interesting to see how far up we go. Round 31 coming on the weekend. Of course, it'll start by Toulouse-Lyon at the stadium on Friday night, Saturday morning. And then heaps of really interesting game actually on the weekend. Rennes against Reims will be pretty special, of course. PSG Lens, I've said it too many times now. Lille-Montpellier, Auxerre-Nantes, Clermont-Angers, Brest against Nice, and then bottom of the table, Strasbourg against Ajaccio. Monaco-Lorient, Monaco with a chance to get back, and then Marseille against Troyes. Troyes, if they want to stay in Ligue 1, well, they need to count on Marseille to choke at home one more time. That's it for Casser Les Lignes, the French football podcast. Thank you again for listening. Any questions, please ask, subscribe, rate us, let us know what you think. And as usual, well, I'll see you next week after round 31 so we can talk a little bit more about French football. Thank you. Bye-bye.